So welcome back. Just got some things I want to run through regarding a number of things that have been around in Alias for a few releases that were built in over a period of time as well. But principally, the first concept is metadata. What does it mean in Alias? What is that metadata? Because I think it's really important, a really important element. And then what can you do with the metadata once you've realised there is such a thing as metadata? You know, what's History Visualizer, or how can we use it in History Visualizer? And how can we create our own preset feature libraries and reuse features in an existing model? So this is what we're going to go through today. What do we mean by metadata in Alias? How can we use it? Using preset feature libraries to apply them into your data sets. Creating those libraries as well, how do we do that? And then applying existing features from a scene. So we're going to take a feature that's in a scene and apply it into other parts. So first of all, let's just look at what metadata is. So from an Alias position, what is metadata? Well, metadata in Alias is things that we build in tools. So here we've got an example of surface fillet. And when we pick this piece of geometry, you can see that it's got metadata. It's got information that was there to how to build up that actual surface and how to create it. So it used the surface fillet command. It was a radius construction type. It was a G1 tangent. And then we've got all the other parameters that we would have in the surface fillet to help us build and create that. So that's how we can see metadata. And interesting, on this fillet actually hasn't got any history. We've deleted the history. So once you've built a feature, you can delete the history and still retain the metadata. Why is that useful? Well, that information still exists, so I can load it into a tool and I can reload it into the tool ready to build another fillet or to add to this fillet in some other way. So in this example, what we're going to do is we're going to put a fillet on the back edge of this surface. So let's go and have a look in the tool and how it's operating. So let's just pick this surface and go in the information window. You can see here we've got the same information that we were talking about before. So how do I now get that into my surface fillet and ready to use? So I'm going to use the new puck and go into the surface tools. And I'm just going to click on the surface fillet tool here. It comes up and says found surface fillet metadata on picked object, load stored options. So I say yes. Now that has used the options that were in the metadata all loaded into the tool, and I can now reuse it. So if I go in, just select here, we'll get those two as well, reverse that and say build. So you can see here I've used the same fillet operation and same details and put in the same fillet on the other side. So this can be really useful because we don't always keep the information. Maybe you have a fillet from somebody else that's come from somewhere in a different model, and someone's saying I want those details to be applied onto this. So you don't actually have to write everything down. You go into the tool, you pick the surface, you go and find the tool that was used, and then you apply it back onto it. Really quite simple, but really effective. Okay. So let's step on and go a bit further with this. So we've just had a look at those different bits. So if I now want to use the metadata and I want to replace some presets and I want to create some presets, then here you see we can use the History Visualizer window to see the tool that we're operating, see the input surfaces and the outputs. But I can use this tool to look at the presets. So I can actually go and assign some presets or create some new preset from something I'm building. So let's go and have a look at how that works. So you can see we're in the file. We've got the file here with various different examples to use. Oops. So if I just first of all go in and I query edit this. This has history, so it's different from the previous example. We've got history to this and it's got a set of information in it already. But now what I want to do is I want to use a preset that I've already defined. So I go into my Windows, I go into the History Visualizer, and you can see here that I've got the history surface fillet available to me here. If I right click on there, I get some options. So I can create a new preset, I can assign a preset, or I can just revert back. So if I say assign a preset, it loads in, or it has loaded in, all of these presets I've defined for various different things. So I've got a few here from my colleagues for different things. But I've loaded in all of the ones here for feature replace in this example that we've created a feature replace library for these surface fillets. Might be working on a particular project, or we've got some presets that we use as part of a company base. So at the moment I've already got one loaded of G2 R17. I'm just going to change that now to G2 R31, and you can see it updates. Do that again, assign a preset, go in, change it. So I'm going to go for the R45 that's in the list that I've created, and you can see I can just go through and do what if scenarios on the back of this. We've actually loaded in all of these other presets, so I could try a G2 R45. Well, that was actually in the list already, or one of these other presets that I've got here. Okay. So how do we go in and actually create a new preset? Well, I go in and create a new preset by the values that I've already got loaded into the tool. Okay. So let's just go in and query edit this. So maybe I want to change some of the values. I want to have a different setup. I have tangent offset maybe, or I want it to be just a chamfer in this case. So let's make that 5. I've made that G0 chamfer and I've called it tangent offset. So I've now going to update that. That's what it looks like. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a new preset and just give it a name. I'm just going to give it a load of mumbo jumbo, so I know that I've created a new preset that I don't really want, maybe. But that's how you go in and build your libraries of different things. You get presets that you've built across different tools. So let's have a look at where we create and how we build the libraries. So in the general preferences in 2025, we now have the file paths. So I can go in here and I can go and open up the presets directory. And I've got one here that's set to a presets directory. These will be a load of different files that will be in there, and I can organize them in folders. As you could see, I could use the different arrows to open up different folders. That means I can actually set a load of different presets that I can reuse over myself or on a network drive for other people to use as well. So let's take another look at a couple of other ways of using these feature libraries. I've got an example here that I'm just going to go in and open an alias. Okay, so we've got our example here, and if I want to go in, you can see I've got an example where I've got some predefined panel gaps. 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, 5 mil. So they're examples that I can look at to understand what might look best. So we're just going to go and put into this panel cover here, and we want maybe quite a tight panel gap. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to query edit that. That loads it into the tool, and now I can say next, and then with chain select on I can pick this boundary and I can say accept and build that. And then we've built our panel gap onto there, so now we can see what it looks like. Okay. If when you're working with things, just a little tip, if you go into the shader lister, the default shader here is the grey colour, and so it doesn't look quite right at the moment. So if I just pick that, pick this one, and then I apply this shader, I can see it in a very clear instance. And just another tip, if you want to clearly define what you've changed, you could actually pick a different shader, and by default that's the shader that's going to get assigned to the objects when you build them. So let's just go in and change over to another example. So this is an example that we can look at in a different way. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the history again, but I'm going to use the history visualizer to do this time. So let's go into the history visualizer. I'm going to pick the object, which is this surface fillet. And you see here it loads into the history visualizer because there's history. And then I can say assign a preset. So what I've done is I've already captured all these as presets within the tool. So let's just close down all these folders that I'm using to organize them. And I know that this one is an R4 G2. Not sure it's an E ratio of 1 or 0.7. But I'm going to go in and say, well, let's find the R3 G2. R3. And that's got a 1. Let's have a look. So let's apply that one. And you see it applies that into the model. Again, I could go and change that back. So apply a preset. So let's go for the R4. Okay. So you can see how we can use this tools, or these set of tools, to build some libraries, develop a number of different examples that we can reutilize across different models. And if we haven't got the library, we can always go and create them, or we can instigate and load them into a tool to reuse them in a different part of the model. So if we just recap on what we saw, so we just explained what metadata is in Alias, how you can use it, using the preset features and to be able to create a feature library, how you can create that feature library and how you can actually save that data out, and then how you can apply existing features from existing scenes in the model. So I hope that was of help, and hopefully this has been useful. If it has, please leave your comments, give me some feedback, and I'll try and respond to you. Thanks.